In Season 11, Episode 2, Eugene Porter reveals to Mercer that he is a virgin. Now, this was confirmed by Josh McDermott as well in an interview. Eugene was not lying here. He was, at that point, a virgin. And then Eugene goes on to bang not one, but two women. I mean, the first was a catfish, but still. Anyway, Shira was not always meant to be Eugene's first. No, there was another character who was supposed to pop Eugene's cherry. That, of course, being Laura from The Saviours. That's right, today's deleted scene video we will be discussing the time Eugene and Laura hooked up. Or were meant to hook up at least. Full disclosure, the scene was never released to the public, it's not on any of the DVDs or the Blu-rays, but we do have details about the scene in question. Now, a while ago, I made a video talking about the Mark death scene that was cut from the episode due to stunt actor John Bernecker's death. I highly recommend you watch that video if you haven't already, as this video will make a ton more sense if you have. My only regret with making that video was I forgot to talk about today's deleted scene, because I have a strong suspicion that the reason why this was cut is linked to Bernecker's death. Now in Season 8, Episode 7, Time for After, the sanctuary is surrounded by walkers, and things are just not looking good for the occupants. Now I want to go over each of Eugene's scenes briefly, so later we can try and piece the original story together. So first time we see Eugene, he's pondering what his next move is, and he visits Dwight to reveal to him that he knows that he is in fact a traitor. And because Negan has tasked Eugene with fixing their surrounded by Walker problem, he asks Dwight to stop all of his treason. Dwight tries to reason with Eugene, but he affirms he is a Negan stan. We then cut to a scene of Mark and Laura barricading a door. Eugene asks how long Laura thinks they have, and she tells him a day, maybe two. Then he walks down a corridor and is asked for help by Dr. Carson, as Gabriel is suffering from a nasty infection. Then there's a one-on-one scene with the scientist and the priest. A scene then with Eugene and Tanya where he talks about drinking in order to sleep. As Tanya leaves, Laura actually enters the room and says the following.
Negan wants you.
Following this, there's a scene where Negan puts pressure on Eugene to fix the situation that they're in. Negan goes in for the weirdest angled handshake I've ever seen, and I get why Eugene saw it as a kiss the ring moment. Next up, Eugene making a device and looking for the iPod that Sasha had when she died. Eugene launches his device before he is confronted by Dwight, who shoots down his device. Then Daryl and co use the garbage truck to break into the sanctuary, and Eugene sees the destruction. He then has a go at the dying priest. Eugene then reveals his plan to Negan, who thanks him for his service, and he's about to rat out Dwight when, speak of the devil, guess who enters the room? However, Eugene has a change of heart and spares him. The final scene is Eugene listening to all the gunfire, and Mullet Man is not really coping too well with his betrayal of his former friends. Okay, so that's everything at the sanctuary. Just keep that in mind. So somewhere in there was meant to be a scene where Laura, thinking she is going to die, decides to have sex with Eugene. The actress Lindsley Register revealed this all on the Skybound podcast Talk Dead to Me, hosted by Johnny Odell. So let's break down what she revealed.
So eventually, I find out that, Laura in this, we're about to die, so who cares, kind of a nihilistic moment. It's just you'll do, and we hook up. Which
literally like a last man on earth kind of situation.
Yeah, exactly.
So there we go. Laura, thinking she is about to die, as the sanctuary is surrounded, basically came in and offered sexy time to Eugene. However, this wasn't anything other than pleasure for her.
They were like, yeah, there's definitely nothing going on between you two. They were reiterating this to me, they're like, yeah, there's no amount of care in this. They were like, it's just sex. I was like, cool, that makes so much sense for Laura.
The actress also went on to reveal a little detail about the scene. Let's have a listen.
So we go and we film it. It was really funny. I think if I remember it right, I kiss him and then he's like, you taste like stone fruit and applesauce or something like that. And then he's like the one, like I'm like getting dressed, and he's got the one with the like with the sheet pulled up around him. It's so cute.
Sadly, when she went to go watch the episode and watch this hilarious scene, she noticed that it was completely omitted from the episode. So, how come? Why deprive Eugene of popping his cherry? Well, I think this all has to do with another deleted scene from the episode, the Mark death scene, which sadly cost the life of John Bernecker. Again, go watch that video if you haven't already. So obviously, what was meant to happen was Dwight was meant to throw Mark's body from the balcony of the sanctuary after he killed him. But obviously, that was all cut after Bernecker's death. But we do get a scene with Dwight confronting Eugene on the roof. These two scenes are very similar. And in the same episode? I think not. So I think instead, the whole Eugene-Dwight rivalry was slightly elongated for this episode. I don't think it was entirely made up. Obviously, it was set up in a previous episode that Eugene knew of Dwight's treachery. But the whole little rivalry consists of only 3 scenes when you think of it. You have the scene of Eugene confronting Dwight, the scene of Dwight destroying Eugene's device, and then the scene where Eugene decides not to rat out Dwight. It's a really unfleshed out plot beat when you think of it. It also just raises some problems for the episode. Like, why would Eugene not rat out Dwight? Eugene is fully on board with Negan and the Saviors. Dwight has now actively ruined one of Eugene's plans. And he obviously could easily sabotage another. He's already potentially doomed Rick and his friends by giving Negan this plan. And he tells Gabriel that he's pretty much fine with him dying. What gives Eugene this sense of change? Why does he not rat out Dwight? Was he intimidated by his presence? I don't think so. I think there's more to this that explains why Eugene doesn't rat out Dwight. Because at the moment, it doesn't make much sense. So have a look at this scene here with Eugene and Dwight. I'll play a little clip.
Your cloak and dagger's on the QT. All I ask is that you do nothing that results in harm to anyone inside these walls, and it'll stay that way.
So explicitly, Eugene tells Dwight not to harm anyone within the walls, but later on, Dwight will shoot Mark in the back and then chuck his body off the railings, again, if we consider that scene still canon. This is why I think a lot of these scenes were just filmed after the Bernecker death. I'll go into that a bit more later on. But why would he say that if in the episode Dwight was going to then kill someone? Like, why wouldn't Eugene then rat? And the scene that directly follows this shows Eugene and Laura having a little chat, setting up that she believes they don't have long to live. Now look at Eugene's shirt here. He has this little sweaty mark. His buttons are all done up. Now flashback to that previous scene where he was talking to Dwight, his buttons are down. There is no sweat mark. If these two scenes were always going to happen back to back, then the costume department and the continuity people would have picked up on this, surely. Now, is he sweaty just from the heat? Maybe, but why have him looking slightly different in 2 scenes that are back to back without any explanation? I could be reading into this, I'm fully aware, but I think there's a chance that these 2 scenes were not meant to play back to back, that actually there is something missing in between. The only other scene we get with Laura and Eugene is after the latter has done talking with Tanya. Now watch this scene and their interaction.
Negan wants you. Negan wants you.
Do you notice something? Laura says Negan wants you, but kind of zooming in and looking at her mouth, I could buy that this is a dub. I don't know. And they also cut to her back before she's finished her sentence, which is like a classic thing filmmakers do when the dub doesn't fit quite nicely with the lip sync. Again, I could be reading into it too much. It's possible. Now, I can't lie. I just cannot for the life of me perfectly fit this all together. Fitting in the Mark death scene and the Eugene and Laura hooking up scene. What's even stranger is the episode is actually 64 minutes long with commercials. This makes it the 4th extended episode of this season alone, and the 22nd overall in the series. So how could it be this long and still have missing stuff? It makes little sense. However, I have one idea perhaps. Reading the court files for the John Bernecker lawsuit, I actually discovered that the scene where Dwight kills Mark, he actually shoots him in the back several times and then chucks his body off the balcony. And I think Mark was actually trying to stop what Daryl and co were doing when they put the garbage truck through the wall of the sanctuary. So that's my theory of what that scene is. But rewatching all of those scenes between Daryl, Michonne, Rosita, Morgan and Tara, they're really janky. They are ham-fisted, and honestly, they feel kind of rushed. And Daryl ramming a garbage truck through a wall, putting a cinder block on the pedal, is a bit ridiculous when you think of it. So actually, I think there's a good chance the scenes that were refilmed weren't anything to do within the sanctuary. They were instead all the scenes with Daryl and co. I still believe the Eugene and Dwight scene on the roof was filmed post Bernecker death, and Dwight's role in this episode was more likely than not to assist Daryl and co on putting more pressure on the sanctuary. I don't think it was as simple as ploughing a garbage truck through the wall. There must have been more layers. You've also got to think of it like this. Daryl and Dwight and everyone in Dwight was in communication. Why suddenly keep Dwight out the loop of something? I believe they were in communication with Dwight, and they instead originally used the RPG to breach the sanctuary. The same RPG where Rosita had that absolutely ridiculous scene. Before it was fired though, Mark would have spotted them, but Dwight quickly took him out before Mark could take out Daryl and friends, thus explaining the Mark death scene, perhaps. The scene where the sanctuary is being devastated by all the walkers, we don't actually see the garbage truck. It just kind of is this smoky, almost hole. And that's why I think it wasn't meant to be the garbage truck originally. Also, Dwight is just suddenly there, even though we have this weird shot where Eugene looks behind him and Dwight disappears. So Dwight just runs down to assist with saving the sanctuary. I guess maybe to keep cover, perhaps. But it just feels really weird that he disappears only to appear in the next scene Eugene is in. So it wasn't like some great mystery, you know, where did he go? I instead think that the Eugene plot of this episode was more so him coping with the fact that he is about to betray Rick's group. And he has this plan in his head. He's just unsure whether or not he should go through with it or wait it out and see if Rick wins. Because I think deep down, Eugene doesn't like betraying the group. It's just in his nature to do what's best for him. I feel the scene at the start of the episode where Eugene confronts Dwight, I think that is pre-Bernecker's death. I really do. However, the whole scene of Dwight and Eugene on the roof, and all the scenes of Eugene building his little gizmo that gets shot down by Dwight, I think all of those were filmed post-Bernecker's death. And I think they've cleverly pieced together all these scenes to make it seem like Eugene's main plot is A, whether or not he comes up with this plan to help Negan and the Saviors win, and also whether or not he rats out Dwight. And I think they've kind of pieced it together to make both of those things true at once. And the sexy time scene would have been part of Eugene coping with that fear. He agrees to Laura's request, A, because he's intimidated by her, and B, because he's just feeling pretty lost himself. He feels like he's doomed too. Doomed either mentally with dealing with that guilt, or doomed physically if he doesn't help Negan. Whereabouts in the episode does it fit? I'm unsure. Maybe it fits in after Laura reveals how long she thinks they all have, or maybe I was right with that idea that maybe that other scene was dubbed over, and maybe when Laura barges into his room, she's simply demanding sex. Again, Scotty G, release the tapes. I want to see it. Now sadly, this scene is technically non-canon because, like I said, both Eugene, the character, and Josh McDermott, the actor, revealed that yes, up until season 11, episode 2, Eugene was in fact a virgin. But hey, for you Eugene and Laura shippers out there, I'll toss you a little bone. Maybe they didn't actually have sex, but they did have some mullet play. So it doesn't count as popping a cherry, but Eugene still got some action. But to be honest, the way the actress described it, I don't think Eugene really had that much fun with her, I can't lie. Thank you to all channel members. We've got Baddie, Just Jordan, August Fisher, Austin Man, Jesus, Logan Keeley, Jack Sokel, Charles, Nova, Gamer J, Tyler B, Beatleaf TTV, That Panda, Ralph Farhar, Gnostics 212, Carl Grimes is my man, David Mulligan, True Paranormal, Scottish Scrub, Jagson9, and Straight Outta Christ, the YouTube TV show or channel. And a massive mega shout out to my absolute legend Walker Slayers. We've got Coda Call, Whatever Comes to Mind, Gavin Kelly, Z Fungi 148, Turbo Clash G, and Red Lemon Cola. Cheers.
And I am in fact a virgin.